All right, you Destiny 2 fanatics, I got a build for you, and this one is going to be the most luxurious, glorious Orb of Power printer build in existence. I was playing some Onslaught on expert difficulty, and at the end, I generated 525 Orbs of Power. That's a boatload of Orbs of Power if I do say so myself. This is also a support build, so you're going to heal yourself and your teammates non-stop. You're going to be getting tons of ability regen, infinite special ammo, orbs of power that would benefit for our exotic weapon, ourselves, and for our teammates. And we're going to enhance our weapon with orbs of power as well. This is basically orbs of power machine that prints orbs of power every single second, and this thing is amazing. We're gonna have multiple variations of producing orbs of power, but the main one that we are using for this build is called BS Velocity Baton. This is a void grenade launcher that is an area denial frame. If you don't know what that is, it's basically it shoots out waves of flames that would tick damage over time whenever a target gets on them. So this is basically a brain dead weapon, and the main perk you're going to want to use for this weapon is attrition orbs. Dealing sustained damage will create a slightly improved orb of power. So if you were to hit this on multiple targets with this grenade launcher, you're going to generate tons of orbs of power just by using one single shot. And on the third column, I do recommend going for demolitionists. Kills with this weapon would generate grenade energy. Activating your grenade ability also reloads this weapon from reserves, which is pretty nice for this grenade launcher. And plus, for this build, we are mostly going to be using our abilities, especially our grenade. So that's going to be very, very good if you have demolitionist on this grenade launcher. Sadly, I do not on the gameplay that you are seeing. I have repulsor's brace, but it is what it is. The origin trait for this grenade launcher is called Bray Legacy. Damage with this weapon generates a small amount of ability energy for the one closest to a full charge. Our origin trait's not going to matter because we're going to be generating tons of ability energy just by healing our teammates. The second method to produce an orb of power is this exotic helmet called Speaker's Sight. The armor perk is called the Lost Voice. Healing grenades will transform into a restorative turret. Healing allies occasionally spawns an orb of power. This is another way to produce orbs of power, but yeah, just makes your survivability last much longer for you and your teammates. And let me tell you, your teammates will thank you, and they will give you the Guac 3000 Hawk 2 sloppy seconds. And if you want that, be sure to put this build on ASAP. The third method to produce orbs of power and also enhance this weapon even further when it comes to dealing damage is the KHVOSTOV 7G0X. The intrinsic trait is called the Right Choice. Every 7th bullet from this weapon will ricochet to nearby targets. And the main perk for this exotic auto rifle is Eyes Up Guardian. Collecting orbs of power strengthens this weapon's next several ricochet shots, providing more damage and more bounces between targets. So we're basically going to be having a 100% uptime when proccing this perk on the KHVOSTOV. What's cool about this auto rifle is that it has shoot to loot. You could also use this with orbs of power as well. So when shooting an orb of power, it would also pick it up. Shooting an ammo brick also picks it up and automatically reloads all of your equipped weapons from reserves, which is pretty nice. What's cool about having an orb of power build is that for your power weapon, you can choose any weapon you like as long as it has the perk called Explosive Light. Picking up an orb of power will increase the next projectile blast radius and damage. So in this case, for me, at the gameplay that you're seeing, I am using the Cold Comfort. And the third column, I would go for Envious Assassin. Defeating targets with other weapons before drawing this one transfers ammo to the magazine from reserves. This effect can overflow the magazine based on the number of targets defeated. So the more enemies you kill, the higher of a chance this weapon will overflow within the magazine. You could also overflow the magazine even further, called Restoration Ritual. Reviving allies or defeating combatants with finishers reloads this weapon and also readies an emergency reload, which will refill for the next time this weapon runs out of ammo. So you're basically going to be shooting 5 shots without reloading. So let's head to the DAWNBLADE subclass. For the super, you can choose any you like, but I prefer going for Song of Flame because one, whenever you proc your super, your kinetic weapons and your solar weapons will scorch targets. You would also get ability regeneration, that aka you're going to be getting steroids. If you like steroids and having a small nut, then put this. You're also going to be getting radiant, aka the weapons that are tied to the seasonal artifacts such as overload grenade launchers, etc. You're going to be getting anti-barrier rounds for our kinetic weapon and our power weapon for this build. Let's head to the abilities. For the class ability, your main goal is to go for Healing Rift. This is your main priority because of one of our fragments I'm going to explain later. For your solar melee, you can choose any of the 2 you like, but for me, I like to go for Incinerator Snap to also stun unstoppable champions, which will cause an ignition whenever you proc this plus melee. And the main ability you're going to want to use is Healing Grenade. Of course, if you don't have it, your exotic helmet would not even work. So I don't know why you wouldn't do that, but you do you, I guess. Onto the aspects. The first one, go for Touch of Flame, which will improve the strength of cure and restoration effects applied. And the next aspect is A.L.I.S.O.N. Activate your Rift to summon a solar mortar that lobs flaming projectiles at distant targets. Targets damaged by the mortar are scorched. Now let's head to the fragments. Remember I mentioned about that rift, about needing that fragment to benefit for our healing rift? This fragment is called Ember of Benevolence. Applying restoration, cure, or radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability regeneration for a short time, but you would get -10 discipline. So what's important about having a healing rift is that whenever you pop your healing rift and an ally were to go in and out of it, it would actually refresh the buff for Ember of Benevolence, which is pretty nice if you want to have a 100% uptime with ability regen. The second fragment is Ember of Solace. Radiant and restoration effects applied to you have increased duration. The third fragment I chose to put is Ember of Mercy, just because whenever you revive an ally, you and your other nearby allies gain restoration. You're also going to be getting restoration when picking up a fire sprite, but you're basically not going to be producing any. I just wanted to put it because of getting restoration when reviving an ally. And you're also going to be getting +10 resilience. And the last fragment I chose to put is another variation, or should I say another way to produce Ember of Benevolence, and is Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and your nearby allies radiant, but you would get -10 discipline. So if you want your teammates to be radiant, be sure to grab your teammates' cucumbers in order for you to do so. For the seasonal artifacts, there really isn't any artifacts that would benefit for this build besides the ones that relying on grenade launchers, because that's what we're mostly using for this build. But other than that, it's pretty schmeat, not gonna lie. For the stats, I do recommend going for Discipline, which will reduce the cooldown for your grenades, and also Resilience. And if you have tier 10 Resilience, you would get a 30% damage reduction. You could also go for Recovery to reduce your class ability because we are on Warlock, but I chose not to go for that because we already have a boatload of ways to heal ourselves, so I just chose not to put that. So here's what I was using for the armor mods for the build. If you'd like to see it, it would be right here if you're interested. And it's basically just producing even more Orbs of Power and also using this mod on our Warlock Bond called Special Finisher. This one will give us the ability to generate tons of special ammo for me and our teammates, but it would consume 3 stacks of armor charges. So whenever we finish a target, it would generate special ammo for the whole team. And to increase our ammo economy for our grenade launcher, I chose to put Void Scavenger, which will increase the bonus reserves when picking up ammo by that weapon. And for the chest armor, there's one armor mod that you could change, which is Charged Up. What it does is that it will increase your maximum stacks of armor charges up by 1. So instead of holding 3, you're going to be having 4. You can change this one to any other resist mod, but if you like it, you can just keep it. And lastly, for the gauntlets, I put Void Loader just to increase our reload speed for Void weapons. So we can just shoot, reload, shoot, reload, shoot, reload. All right, so here's my thoughts on the build. I really enjoyed sitting back and just casually spamming my abilities so I can let my other 2 teammates just get kills. It was pretty chill, not gonna lie. I didn't really have any like deaths, but I only had some because I killed myself by accident. I would usually think that support builds would be boring, but this one is more like an offensive/defensive build. And this makes Expert Onslaught mode a breeze. This thing saves lives. When I mean that, I mean that. It saves lives. And your teammates are going to thank you for that. Trust me. If you guys did enjoy this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you would hit that like button and also subscribe. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Have a good rest of your day, evening, or afternoon. Take care and peace. Join the Discord. I also help a lot of people with raids, dungeons, Grandmaster Nightfalls. So if you guys need help or would like to chat with me, feel free to join me on Kick or Twitch, whichever you prefer. I hope to see you guys there.